Hello, everyone. Great to see all of you. We are going to be recording today's meeting because we had a number of colleagues that were not able to attend. So appreciate that you would be in support of that. Um, I think I know everyone, but in case I don't, Joan Blau with the Early Childhood Investment Corporation, and super excited today to be welcoming our colleagues from MyLeap from Our Strong Start. And Julia, I will turn it over to you to get us kicked off.
Okay, well, thank you, Joan, for inviting us here today. And again, my name is Julia Gurley Johnson, and I'm the OSS manager within MyLeap. And I have here today one of our OSS navigators, Cassidy McKinley, the one, and Shaka Stribling is out ill today, but the two of us will, be here to talk about OSS and what we're doing and answer any questions you all might have and just kind of talk about, how we can all work together. So I don't know, Joan, if you want me to go from there or Cassidy can
Yeah, why don't
introduce
we have
herself and
Cassidy introduce herself, and then we thought it would be helpful if Julia and Cassidy, however they've decided to do it, or just Julia, would just give a high-level overview of OSS, just so we're all kind of starting from the same place about what OSS is supposed to do. Does that make sense to folks? Would that be helpful? Okay.
Hi, my name is Cassidy McKinley. I've met a few here recently, but essentially I am the R Strong Start navigator for the west side of the state and the youth. So I support and work under Julia with providers, and she'll give you some more information about what exactly we're doing. And then I'm going to just drop my contact info in the chat. So if anyone would like it or wants to reach out to me, they can.
and Cassidy, do you mind dropping in Shaka's information as well, her contact information?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So Joan, are we going to do any more introductions or how do you want to start off?
We can, if it would be helpful to know who's here. So, how about we start with you, Woody? Do you mind?
Sure, no problem. Woody Smith. I am in Region 2, based in Traverse City, supporting the Northwest Regional Child Care Coalition.
Okay.
Norica, how about you?
Good morning. I'm Norica Kita Betty, also in Region 2, work with Woody, and had the opportunity to talk with Cassidy a couple weeks ago, which was great. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Carrie, how about you?
Hi, I'm Carrie Wilson, and I'm with Child Care Network, and I'm representing regions 9 and 6.
Rebecca, I see there's a few people here from D3, so why don't you start?
Yes, hi, I'm Rebecca Dales. I work for Data Driven Decisions and part of Region 5 Child Care Coalition.
Alder?
I'm Alder Rose Blanchard, also with D3 and Region 5 as well.
Grady?
Hi there, Brady Duke from Saginaw Future representing Region 5.
Welcome. Oliver?
Hi, Oliver Bernstein. I am also with Child Care Network and alongside Carrie representing Regions 6 and 9.
Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm from Sturgis Area Community Foundation representing Region 8.
Olivia?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Olivia Gorska. I'm a Policy and Outreach Associate here with ECIC. A lot of my work is in Detroit, so I do work a lot with Region 10, but the policy team also does provide some TA every now and again for our Regional Child Care Coalition, so I'm very excited to be here.
Raven?
Hi, I'm Raven Hewitt. I work with Vibrant Futures in Kent County, I'm an FCCN coordinator, so I work with the Family Child Care Networks.
Welcome. And then Liv, I think everyone might know you, but please introduce.
Yeah, hi everyone. Liv Rao, the program manager for the Regional Child Care Coalitions, and excited to learn today.
Okay. All right. Well, wow, it's a pleasure to meet all of you. And like I said, we plan to work with you all closely, not wanting to step on anyone's toes, but basically to be here um, as a backup and just to assist you all in your regions. And so, just to give you a little background, with OSS, if you recall back when the grant was going on, that the navigators were walking applicants through the process with the pre-licensing process, as well as working with Wonder School that was basically responsible for the sustainability of their childcare business. And so once the grant wrapped up, it kind of things kind of shifted, but that the senior leadership saw that there still was a need for OSS navigators. And so that role is back in place. And with the navigators, they are now working with providers and walking them through the pre-licensing process, as well as we are still out in the community attending different conferences and events that are childcare related or licensing related, as well as just some other ones that we've kind of tapped into this year that we had not approached before. In addition, we are looking at working with the municipalities, but we also know that you all are working with the municipalities. So just more or less to be a buffer or a backup for you all. So whatever type of information that's needed from us, but we have been working on a presentation as well that while we're out, either working with the municipalities or say with business development, economic development, or just like with certain leaders, that we have information just to kind of talk about the success and the benefits of having childcare in your area, especially some of these desert areas. And, working also just to help with kind of that whole zoning issue, because we know we have some issues as far as those providers that are trying to open up a group home. And so those are some of the things that we continue to do. But in addition, some of the things that we added on that we were going to do like a whole digital engagement strategy. And so we have been building right now like a e-resource, as well as we have in the works to do like a Monday myth busting that we'll have something that's up on the website with a particular question or something, and then with the answer, but also looking at adding in OSS office hour for that. And we're right now kind of looking at whether or not we would want to tag team with the office hours that are already in place, like with the different regions and the consultants and area managers, where we would just kind of combine with them, or if we would do our own. So we do have that in the works. Also, just looking at a lot of the information that is going out to the providers, because another thing that we're finding out is that, well, it continues to be an issue, is that once they get to the plan reviews. And so that seems to still be a hiccup in the process. And so also just information that we're getting back from providers as far as some of the things they wish they had been aware of prior to going into the licensing process. And so trying to get more information out on the front end so that they can be well informed. So we're looking at, for example, with the real estate piece of it, that certain things that if they're leasing this building, like to make sure that they're requesting like the floor plan, make sure that they're requesting information about the environment, any hazards or what have you, because we have providers that have went into buildings and then there's things under the ground, or in the soil that we're not going to be able to get that building approved for them to have childcare. Also, letting them know that they sometimes they'll get the building and then they will find that they can't get the certificate of occupancy. And so really trying to direct them like, here are the steps that you need to do and you need to have in place. Because before we would, basically tell them to make sure that you have your location locked in and that you have your zoning approved. But another example I'll give you, like we had a provider call and she is pushing to open up a child care that is in a semi-detached building, and the business next door to it is a massage parlor or something like that. And so the city is having some issues approving her zoning because they're talking about that area is just, there's a lot of crime and a lot of things going on and just some issues with the massage parlor. And so but she's still kind of insistent that she wants to have this building. And so really just trying to educate her that, we can't tell them what to do, but just kind of really suggest that you really need to look into a lot of these things before you start to put money into these buildings and find out that we're not going to be able to use that you're not going to be able to use that building. So really, like I said, trying to get some information out there. And just kind of build up that whole OSS, like things that we want to do on the front end, and then how we come in where we can help with whatever it is that you all need. So we did have one of our flyers we'd like to just show you just so you can kind of get an idea of some information that we are trying to get to the provider. So I don't know, Cassidy, if you have it ready or... Oh, Cassidy, are you there? Or okay, she's getting it ready. All right.
Okay, can you guys see that? Okay, so yeah, this is just in the draft phase right now, so it's not official. It hasn't necessarily been released to our website or to providers, but it's just something that we are working on to kind of give you guys an example of just how we're trying to get ahead of things before people make commitments to buildings. So this is what to know when selecting the right space for a child care center. And we make sure to note that it is not an exhaustive guide. We can't give all of the information, everything Bureau of Fire Services related in, one front and back document. But if this can be a tool that we can provide to potential providers, just to say, look for these things before you make a commitment to a building, that's really what our goal is.
And here. And so you, as you can see here, like with the building approval process. And so we worked closely with BFS because and our questions to them was, what is it that you see a particular pattern with our providers with this pre-licensing? And this is kind of what they came up with, was like these are some of the main things why they always reject the plan review because of certain things that are not in place. But, they really did stress as far as the municipality requirements, basically saying if they can't get this part, then they're not going to get the licensing part. So even if licensing approved, what's going on in the building and like everything is in place, if the municipality says no, then they're not going to move forward. And so really, just trying to stress that information to the provider, like just to make sure that you have all of these things in place. Really encourage them to work with a qualified fire inspector if they can, at least to get in there and look at it and see like what are some of the things that you're going to have to work on to get this building up to code or get it ready for childcare. And then, just kind of talking about many of the common safety barriers and just giving them information like, make sure you get the lease. Ask the building owner as far as, what type of insurance that you'll need or, whether or not they're going to go on this insurance, but just kind of really getting some information out to the provider just so they can really be well informed. And even in addition to this, I don't know, Cassie, can you scroll down or is it just my screen is I'm on my laptop, so I can't see at the bottom. But in addition to this form, we have other forms for centers, and we're still in the process. We have one set up for the homes as well, but we're just kind of waiting on the rules to be approved, and then we'll see where we need to tweak it from there. But yeah, just kind of like I said, building like a whole e-resource library that they can come in and get different information and see where they need to go. So we're kind of looking at doing some short, maybe 90-second videos. And yeah, just kind of really getting out there and have that more of a web presence in addition to what we have always done. So I don't know if you have any questions or comments, suggestions.
All right, the floor is open. I think we don't have that many people on. You can certainly use the chat or you can unmute or use the raised hand emoji. It looks like one question is already in the chat, Julia.
Okay.
It's from Brady. It says, he apologizes if this question isn't directly related, but one consistent concern that they receive from childcare providers trying to open is the long wait time that they have to even get to the state fire inspector to come in and review, green light or reject. How does what you're doing, what are you doing to address that issue within Miley?
Okay. So we, part of it is kind of twofold because oftentimes when we get an application, we're going to turn it around or at least start working on it within like the 24 to 48 hours. And then at that point, then it's how the information is coming in to the provider. And as I said at the beginning, that one of the biggest hiccups is that whole BFS part of it. And so what we're doing trying to streamline that process is that because these are the issues that seem to be kicking back these plan reviews, is that to get on the front end of it so that it will be a much smoother process. In addition, we have the Filter First consultants that are working with the providers. And so as they're communicating with their consultant and trying to get everything approved, if there are issues that the Filter First is working with them saying these are things that need to be corrected before it gets over to the Bureau of Fire Services. So as I, indicated that a lot of those issues that BFS is saying that they're having is listed in that flyer. So, other things we're going to look at is like how are we going to reach them? Because not everybody reads these flyers. They kind of just go in and they start asking questions once they're in the process. And so we will need to look at what are the ways that we can reach out and educate these providers, whether, it's, I don't know, having them sign off that they've read and they understand, or doing some kind of other pre-orientation for them. I don't know, making it mandatory for them to watch something that's before they really get into the process so they understand. So we haven't gotten that far yet, but, right now what we're seeing, we're hoping that this will address a lot of that slow moving so that we can get them in and processed and working, getting their business going. I don't know if that answered your question or.
Yeah, it did. I would like to follow up though,
Okay.
because I don't know the process myself. So
Mm-hmm.
the providers that I've talked to in the last 6 months say that the process to get BFS on site has been ongoing for like 8 months. So can you clarify how accurate that is and
That,
give me an idea of like what they should be anticipating? And that way I can kind of filter what's actually
but
legitimate and maybe what step they're missing. Because I
okay.
don't really know what to push to them if they just say they're waiting on that. You know what I mean?
Right, right. So 8 months, I would agree, like maybe, I don't know, not even last year, maybe at the beginning of last year, like 24, going into 25, that there was really a backup, especially when it was that the QFIs are kind of really more with that whole renewal process and not working with the originals. And so I think that is where that 8 month uh, timeline is coming from. But as far as I know, they, from the meetings that I'm in, they're saying that as far as the review part of it, they're probably within 3 weeks. Now, to get out to the site, oh, sorry about that. Sure with that. Sorry about that. Um, I would say at least, I don't know, maybe 2 months, but I mean, the process, we typically tell providers anyway that it could take up to 6 months to get them all the way through. So I'm gonna say, safe to say within 2 months, but let me verify. And Brady, I'll get that answer to you, like what is the quickest and what is the longest that they're looking at as far as that turnaround to get out to the site and do an inspection.
And I think the other thing that applies to these providers I'm speaking about specifically is they were trying to connect with BFS directly. And it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like what you're saying is that's not really a part of the process, that you guys would be passing the application on to BFS. So maybe that's the step they're missing, and maybe I can revert them back to you guys um, as that missing link.
And that is correct. So,
Okay.
I know in the beginning when I first started that they were referred over, but that really kind of slowed down the process with them talking with so many providers. And so it was kind of went back, the onus was on childcare licensing. But BFS has office hours the first Thursday of every month. And what I will do is I will have when that link comes out to send it to you all, like, and so you can have your providers on that. And they're I don't know, 5 or 6 individuals from BFS that are on there answering questions. I mean, they go straight down the line. They get your whatever that ID number that they assign to the provider. And they'll look at that print right then and there and just say, here's what's going on, whether the doors aren't swinging in the right way or um, the vertical opening or whatever is going on with that particular um, plan review. So they'll go through it and then they even will stay on after because it's typically for an hour from 3 to 4 on that Thursday, but they will stay after to answer questions. So yeah, and then again, you can always work with the Filter First consultants because they have not BFS, but they have that background. I know one is he has his a side business. He's like a contractor, but he has properties and buildings and he kind of knows about that kind of stuff. And so he'd be more than happy. That's Brandon Robinson and oh my God, I can't think Kim's last name, but they are the two Filter First. And I can get that information to you all as well, that they can contact them directly if they have an issue with their plan review. Did that answer your question or?
Yeah, that's helpful information. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
All right. Shanae, I see your hands up.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that you guys have put together a document. We were already starting to figure like we needed to do something like that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is so critically important. I would say that as a regional coalition that, who's charged with increasing supply, that we certainly have run into these incredible delays that have caused even school districts that go into a public-private partnership with an entity in the building that's already kind of got their approvals to get delayed and then miss a whole summer, for example, of childcare that could have started.
Got it.
So this has been real. I know that's been about a year or so ago. So I'm glad to hear that you all have done something in that regard. We're working with a woman right now that's moving from a home to a center. And certainly when I talked to the fire inspector ourselves with the local one for the municipality, he said exactly what you're saying here is that they need to go over some things prior. And he had looked to see that you all did not have a resource, which is why we were saying, well, we need to create something. So, so I'm glad you've already done it. I think the challenge that we're having with this particular project right now, even as we speak, is that so we've got the fire inspectors. They've gone through their list. They say, for example, that we only need one door because one of the classrooms is not within the 50 feet. But then the municipality comes back and says that we need 3 doors, outside doors, off of each classroom for $100,000 additional. So I'm trying to understand how does a municipality have stricter rules when I just read something that said that they shouldn't have stricter rules than the state. So I'm trying to resolve, do we go to the state and they have one rule? And I looked at the documents myself, right?
Okay.
And then I also looked at the states and I called the guy up, and very helpful, but still was kind of sticking with these 3 doors. And I was thinking, a childcare has 3 doors on the outside of every classroom. So help me understand, if you were us, what would you be doing next?
Wow. So yeah, that's a question for BFS, and I don't know if the next meeting that we have with you all, if we can have Angie or one of the experts on with that. I know just speaking with her, she just, because she kind of helped us with a lot of the information on that flyer. And that was the main thing that she stressed was that it's got to get through the municipality first before it even gets to us. So, because if they say no, then we're not going to be able to move forward. So that is something I will
So
take
in the
back to her
document that you
today.
guys just recently showed, are you showing us kind of the roadmap and process? Because if we don't have that, just like the gentleman before me, we're gonna need that so that we can help guide them as
Correct.
we consult and coach.
Yep. So yeah, so that is going to be released to you all. So we're just waiting on childcare licensing, like to approve it, and then that will come out and that will be a resource. And that's what it's kind of put there for. Like, this is what you need to do with the municipality, and here's what licensing is going to look at. But the the issue that you brought up as far as the 3 doors and what's going on with that, I will reach
Versus the
out
state
to.
saying we only need one door, so it's $10,000 that door going out. That I mean, I've been in the facility, so it's really
Mhm.
not the 50 feet. And then, but the outside doors are so much more um, costly. I mean,
Yeah.
that now we're talking about $105,000, so 10,000 versus 105, and that's where we're stuck.
Yeah, because I mean, when you say 3 doors, that's the first I've ever heard. So I guess what I'm wondering is what was the issue with the entrance and the exit that
Uh,
they felt that this third door needed to be a part of approving
I'm gonna get clarity in it because obviously the person was the childcare business was really upset about this and
Mm-hmm.
had reached out to us, and that's how we got involved. And I listened to her and then went and talked to the fire inspection person, so I could hear from them. And I'm just trying to see if there's anything that can be done, like who would be best to talk to? Is it these filter people? For filter first people, are they like consultants and we could also engage them as a consultant?
You can, and like I said, I can get them involved. That you can speak with them and their contact information.
Okay.
And I also is Shana or Shanna?
Shanae.
Shanae. And I think it would even really um, be good for you or any of you to come to one of the BFS office hours because you can address
Okay. Okay.
those questions there because they have all of them there from the deputy on down
Awesome.
answering
Okay.
those questions. And if you have, a specific provider that you want to address, they will do that as well. And oftentimes, if it's something that's is going to take some time, it's time intensive, then they will say, "Hey, we're going to talk off record because that's going to take up, more time than what is allotted for the meeting." So yeah, they will do that.
Okay. And the only
Yeah.
thing I would also recommend is that I think that 1 hour for home off for whole state is insufficient. So I've got to wait now, what, 2 or 3 weeks before I talk to them again. And it just has been like a super waiting game.
Yeah.
So um, maybe there's a way. I see somebody, Elizabeth or somebody that's talking in the chat, so I'll look at that as well. But you guys are on the right track. This is exactly what's needed. We need so much supply. It is really egregious that we
Hmm.
don't have slots for these children, and we can't expect them to get to kindergarten or third grade reading without a place to learn. And that's what's at stake.
Okay.
And the
And
families being able to go to work.
that is true. That is true. We're trying to do that too. But now I will say, it's interesting because with some of these meetings that you may find two or three providers on there, and sometimes you can the next month it may be 10. And so I know the information goes out in the Friday flyer, so I don't know um, like how many providers are looking at that information because it's out there with the link and saying, hey, here are the next two or three BFS office hours that are coming up. But once they get to that provider, I mean, I know they're working with them, but like you said, with the 1 hour not being sufficient, I will bring that up to them and
Yeah.
see what else they might consider. So.
Yeah, we just can be concerned that how is the municipality's requirements so much more stringent? And I'm just trying to
Mhm.
figure out do I escalate that at the municipal level? Because we actually have a grant with the city to actually do supply building, or do
Mhm.
we but it doesn't look like it's on your end. You're only saying one door, but they're saying something much more significant. And I'm just trying to find out, is there a way to negotiate this to a middle?
Okay.
Since they pretty much have the last say, and you just said that actually they should have started there first, and they did it backwards. They went in, found the space, looked at it, thought it was great, started renovating. It is fully renovated, except for these issues, and it's equipped, so it's ready to go for some children, if we can get over this hurdle. So
So let me ask you this. So when they said the third door, was there I'm just kind of wondering because I know they always look at the entrance and the exit that they need to have,
sure.
but was it something with the distance of the that
Well,
the
I know
kids,
that
they couldn't get out or what?
yeah, it doesn't look like that from my standpoint. I did read your regs, which are really clear, and it talks about the 50 feet for
Hmm.
preschoolers and I believe toddlers and 100 feet for the preschoolers. Yeah, so that looks like it's within that. So I'm really now, as you question more, not really clear exactly why they're saying external doors to the classroom, to the outside, three of them. I'm thinking that's crazy. I don't know one childcare entity that has a door from every classroom outside. And if you
Yeah.
guys are saying one, why are they saying three? So it's more to talk, but I will try to attend or see if I can get somebody to talk to us again. Because the property owner, the provider, and Vibrant Futures wants to have a conversation, and
Okay.
we love all three of all them, and plus the municipality to be on that call. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that because I mean, I know that I just can remember one incident that they had the two doors, but the based on the location of the doors, that the concern was like if a fire or smoke or something happened on the opposite end of that business, that distance for them to get to the closest door, it was beyond the 50 feet. So it was like the entrance and the exit, they were like close to each other, but it didn't help for that other side of the childcare center. And so I do remember that coming up, but that's the first I've
It
heard
doesn't
that
look like it to
three
me, but I don't
doors.
know
It's
why.
always been
I
like the
know.
two that I knew of.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm now feel like I can't quite pinpoint what
Okay.
he's seen as the issue that the state did not see as an issue.
Right.
Okay.
But thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, Shanae. I noticed Woody you had put a question in the chat, Julia, regarding when OSS is interacting with providers, are you regularly sending folks to regional coalitions as a place to get potential support? It looks like that's happening. Carrie, was that in Region 6 or 9, or did it? I'm just wondering.
Region 6. So
Region
we
6.
received, yep, and they specifically named the regional childcare coalitions as a support for new
Okay.
providers.
I mean,
Okay.
I think that I mean I know we talked about this before, Julia, but there are a lot of different kinds of supports that are coming together at the regional
Okay.
level. And I mean, I think it is a good place to send people because it also
Definitely.
helps the region understand what else is needed. And often they can certainly muster more supports than a provider all on their own. I mean, even if you all are
Yes.
working with them, there's going to be other things that would be helpful for the community to
Okay.
show up and support. So, um, I think you already have it, but we can follow up again if you don't, of like, we're just working on this right now. Was like we have an updated contact list for each region.
Okay.
If that would be helpful, we can share that as a follow-up.
Okay. And I'll take that back to the DTs that are processing the applications just to make sure that if they are having whatever questions or issues that they have the regional coalitions like to help them as well. So that's no problem.
Awesome. Um, we would love to have a link or maybe further direction on where to find the office hours because I know
Okay.
Elizabeth was looking. I was actually surreptitiously also trying to find the link and put it in the chat. So if you all have that or could send that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I just dropped
Okay.
it in the chat, but I can
Oh,
follow
thank
up with
you.
an email as well so that you can share that out to everyone who wasn't able to make it.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Cassidy.
All right. What other questions do we have for our colleagues?
Joan, I have a question it's kind of along the lines of Woody's question, but kind of a bigger picture, stepping back a bit. And this might be a question for you, I don't know, but as they think about, what OSS is able to offer, and what the regional coalitions are working on, what Great Start to Quality has available. I'm just curious if there's like a bigger picture vision at the state level for how all of these things should interact. I know we're fortunate that Cassidy's been willing to join some of our meetings to talk about our childcare technical assistance team and kind of figure out like what that might look like to integrate OSS into what we're developing. But just thinking longer term and bigger picture, like it would be great. I feel like if there was a statewide vision for kind of how information flows, how we get people from one to the other, and what that really looks like in order to maximize what everyone's working on.
Yeah, I think there are a few things that are going on that are related to that, but I think that's a really great thing for like Julie and I to be talking about together and also with Lisa at MyLeap. So I know that one of the things that MyLeap is doing is trying to make sure across like the different scopes of work that they are responsible for funding. So regional coalitions, Great Start to Quality Resource Centers, et cetera, like as we approach fiscal year 27, that they're really clarifying responsibilities and making sure that there's not overlapping in a way that's unproductive and not useful so that everyone understands what their roles and responsibilities are. That's a product that they're working on. And I know that we'll be able to share more about that as we approach the new fiscal year. I think as we've been implementing, there's been regional variation in how people have taken up the different goal areas, with some organizations in and coalitions doing more work in some areas than others, but I think we are at the point in some ways in our development collectively that I think a conversation like this seems very like probably overdue to all of you, but I think timely in terms of like, okay, now, MyLeap says regional coalitions are permanent infrastructure. We know OSS is something they're keeping. We have other things like now would be a good time for us to be talking about like what do we want this to look like and what might the process look like? Because I think as people have been saying, Julia, like people are hungry for an understanding of what the process looks like and to have better insight into both trying to limit the impact financially on individual people who want to come into business, like being harmed by trying to get into business and not really knowing the process, which I know you all see, but also so that the limited resources that the regional coalitions might have are put to the best use in service to the other partners and players. Like that's how I would see it. So.
You're doing a wonderful job, and it's really helpful because we can't, reach everyone. So it's, for us, it's more or less really just to assist the regional coalition. So we're not trying to step on anyone's toes, but just to kind of be there as a support for you all. So definitely, um, I'll take that back as far as just having a meeting just to kind of find out like what is the vision for all of this coming together. Because yeah, we have like some other ideas, but it may be things that maybe the regional level can help with. I had kind of thought about like even with the real estate, and so working with Eagle, and that was one of the things that they had brought up is that they a comment that they thought that sometimes the real estate side of it is taking advantage of providers because there are things going on with these buildings and they know it and they're not disclosing it. And so it's like that was something that we added to that flyer. And then and when I look at all the three regions, like, I mean, the three areas within my league, like we kind of all touch each other. So even we've tried to work, with higher education because they're out working with the college kids or kids coming out of high school, but we're also tapping into it as well, that for those that want to focus on education or maybe have a childcare business. And another idea that we've kind of toggled around, but just got to figure out like which way to go, that we have a lot of these schools that are vocational high schools that they know CAD. And so that was one thing that came up as far as like, how could we look at the high school, like the students possibly doing some of that plan review, like the plan for the providers, and, is it possible for them to get the students to get the credit? And then this could be something that would reduce costs for the provider when they have to hire somebody to put all this together. So I know there were some questions like, well, how, like the logistics, how would we do it, with the students all spread out? And so, yeah, just, thinking of what other ways can we tap in to get these to increase, the capacity of childcare, and then help the students, because that's kind of like what part of my leap is as well. So yeah, so there are ideas out there, but definitely, you all are right there in your communities. You see what's going on. And so, yeah, we definitely want to continue to work with you. And then for you all to ask us, what is it that you need from us? And some of the information that I have that I gathered here today, I'll take it back and see where we can go from there.
Thank you, Julia. I know we're approaching the close of our meeting. Are there any other pressing questions that anyone had that you wanted to make sure that you were asking today?
No questions.
All right.
So I wanted to mention one thing. So I don't have the map in front of me. And I know when I look at the regions, it's kind of like a zigzag when we look at it, because we only have the two navigators right now. And so it's just that Cassidy would have the whole west side and the UP, and Shaka would have the east side. But I know it zigzags up there as far as like what the consultants and the area managers. So, but now that I have everyone's information, the contact information, and that list that you sent me, so you kind of know like which navigator that you would need to reach out to should some of your providers need some assistance. And yeah, so we just kind of want to connect with you all. If you have meetings like your own just for your region and you would like the navigator at that meeting, by all means, let us know. But yeah, we love to, however we can converse and get the word out, get information out, we'd be more than happy to work with you all.
Thank you, Julia. And in our post-meeting follow-up, we'll be sharing the recording of this office hours for those who couldn't attend, but we'll also include the navigator contacts that
Okay.
Cassidy dropped in the chat, which indicate kind of the regions that they're covering, as well as the information that I know you're going to share, Cassidy, as well, about the office hours that might be of interest for some folks to attend.
Okay. And like I said, with the office hours for BFS, it comes out with our Friday. And so I think they'll list like 2 or 3 for like the upcoming months, and then they'll do it again. So I don't know if that link changes, but it's always in that Friday flyer, like the information that's coming up. But it's always, like I said, the first Thursday of the month from at 3 o'clock, 3 to 4.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Any last minute questions before we close out?
No questions?
So, well, thank you for the MyLeap team, OSS team, for joining us and answering questions. It was great to be able to have the coalitions able to pick your brains and share some of the problems that they're experiencing. And thank you to everyone who attended the call. It's so awesome to hear the questions resonating across the coalitions. And I know this is something that will help make the resources provided to the providers stronger and more coordinated.
Yeah, thank you all. It was a pleasure to meet everyone, and hopefully we'll be getting back together really soon.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.